All right, I want to not introduce you. You guys know Mike Nellis. He's been on before. He's been on all over WCPT with other hosts, and he should be. He's a political strategist, an entrepreneur, a creator. He hosts Endless Urgency, which you should subscribe to and watch. It's fun and smart. He talks to fascinating guests, even on occasion me. So I get to give a plug in when I can. And he's just a terrific guy and a very smart observer of what's going on. Hey, Mike.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, good. So, I mean, the news kind of gives us lots to talk about, but I just had a fantastic discussion with Dave Roberts, who is a wonderful guy, mostly focused on climate, but the intersection of climate and politics. And he was, a lot of our conversation ended up in this place where is America ready to take on its own elites? Because of the failure of elites in this moment. And I would like get your insight on that.
Yeah, well, I hope America's ready to take on its elites because it's the only way we're ever going to solve the myriad of crises that we're dealing with right now. And the way that I would frame it for people is there are two classes of people in this country. There's the Epstein class, and then there's everybody else, period. End of story. Yeah. And if you're wondering, oh, go ahead.
For me, the Epstein class and the Davos class are the same group.
Yeah, no, that's the point that I was going to make is like, if you're wondering why there are, hundreds, if not thousands of very wealthy, well-connected people that can abuse kids and never go to prison, it's the same reason that there are people that destroyed the economy in 2008 and cost tens of millions of Americans their jobs and their homes in the 2008 financial crisis. It's the same group of people that get a tax cut every time we have a Republican president. Well, your taxes get higher while everything gets more expensive. It's the same scandal. Stephanie Miller said this to me like 2 weeks ago. It's all one story, Edwin. It's just one story. There's not a ton of scandals. It's just one. And it's the same one. We've got to break these people. And like, I'm not sitting here saying that if you're out there and you're wealthy or you've made $1 billion, you're necessarily a bad guy. But this system is broken and you're either with us or you're not. And the Epstein scandal is the perfect example of how broken this is.
Yeah, totally right. It also, Donald Trump's superpower was that Americans thought he was one of us. I'm not going to get pushed around to be politically correct about everything. It just made it feel like he was one of us. And then when he just sided with the Epstein crowd over everybody, it like the veils dropped from people's eyes. I want my ballroom for the same crowd. I want my $1 billion so I can be one of them, or 10 billion, whatever he's saying he's going to take from the Treasury. I think people understand he's not on our side anymore, and that I don't know how he recovers from that.
He's never going to recover from this unless suddenly the economy starts chugging along and everything gets cheap again and jobs come back and the market starts growing again. Like, it's just not going to happen. So he's trapped, and he built his entire political brand around being a class trader, right? Remember the stuff about I don't pay taxes, I abuse the system, like I take advantage of it. Like, people like that stuff, and they like the way that he talked about it. And I've said this 1,000 times, like, Trump is really good at identifying the issues that exist in America that drive the American people crazy, but he has no interest in solving them, and he has no good ideas to solve them either. So, but what he did was he goes, I'm going to break this system. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to take on these elites. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And he hasn't done any of it because he's a part of that. And where he was upset is that when he first entered politics, it was because he wasn't really a billionaire. Now he's clearly one of the richest people on the planet. He's like Putin. Like, we'll never know fully how wealthy he is because it's going to be all overseas. And we'll just never really know. And now he can be in the rooms with he wants, and he can wine and dine and abuse his power to make people bow to him and get Jeff Bezos to pay $45 million for Melania's stupid documentary, while the average American can't pay their bills. So he gets what he wants, but is your life better than it was a year ago? Because I doubt it.
No, I mean, the Sun-Times, God bless the Chicago Sun-Times. They have been tracking the price of grocery items for a year. They got a basket of 35 items, and they go in every week and they buy them, and they get the price, and they talk about like, oh, I can get this one with a discount. I mean, they shop like we shop, like, where's my coupon? And they reported that like the prices are up double digits, more than, I think it was like 12, 13% more than they were a year ago. I mean, and people know, I mean, I know that I have abandoned my grape nuts not because I can't afford the box at $9, but who wants to pay $9 for a box of grape nuts?
This is how I am with Honeycrisp apples, because the price is so absurd for one apple right now. And I'm like, this is my one treat on my diet that I'm allowed to have. And they're so expensive. But I'll go one step further with you on that, because when you, and I think, I go on Fox and Newsmax and all these other places, and I get in their faces and argue with them, and they'll go, but Mike, the cost of gasoline, it's so much cheaper. Like, why is that not a good thing? And I'm like, look, it's a good thing that gas is cheaper. By the way, it's about 10 cents cheaper, which is not nothing, but it ain't that much either. But the difference is, now look at the price of buying a car. The average car payment in America today is $750 a month. So what's the value of gas being cheaper if you're paying a couple extra hundred, if you can't have a car? Yeah. It's like, what's the value of having like free speech if you don't have a good education, so that you can actually have a good idea every now and again?
Yeah, I mean, and they'll pick the, things that were prices don't go in unison. So gas prices go down, but other prices go up, and on average, prices are up. And it's not like, again, it's not always the president's fault that there's inflation, but this president has done nothing to make it better, and he's done everything to make it worse.
This president can't even acknowledge that there's a problem. Like, he flew out to Iowa a couple of weeks ago to give a speech specifically about affordability, and the first thing out of his mouth was, inflation is dead. I killed the inflation. And I'm like, you have to admit that there's a problem in order to then talk to people about what your solution to the problem is. And again, you're right that they're going to cherry pick, but if you look at the growth in the economy in this last year, almost all of it is either AI and tech, which is killing jobs, or it's healthcare. The healthcare industry is growing, and the reason the healthcare industry is growing and making so much money is because they're jacking everybody's premiums right now. So again, you're getting killed on energy, you're getting killed on car payments, you can't afford to buy a house, you can't afford your groceries. And Donald Trump's out there building himself a ballroom and throwing 1920s flapper parties with like pretty women in giant champagne glasses. And he wonders why his approval rating is hovering in the mid-30s.
I wonder why his approval rating is hovering in the mid-30s.
Yeah, well, that's from a different POV.
Yep. Oh my gosh. And so he's got this administration that he put together, dedicated to the proposition that everything is his. That's what they're there for. And, I want to just ask you about the Wall Street Journal story about DHS and the complete chaos. It begins by saying Kristi Noem fired a pilot because he didn't move her blanket from one plane to another when she switched. But that's just the start. I mean, how is it that are we so numb? So numb that just the crazy. I mean, they think she's going to be president. Anybody who thinks she's going to be president needs to get their head checked. I mean, now it says all that video they're taking of their stormtroopers on our streets that they have taken of their stormtroopers on our streets that they're proud of. They thought that would make Kristi Noem president. I mean, president of Mars maybe, but not a country on this planet.
Well, I like to remind people about the recording that DHS does that the Nazis filmed everything too. Yeah. And I'm not one to call this administration Nazis, which is not because I don't think they're fascists. It's because I think Nazis were dramatically worse than what they're doing. And just when you really sit down and think about it. But again, people who are arrogant and abuse power think that they're never going to lose an election, think that they're never going to be held accountable, and they will be. And it will be in part because they recorded everything, which is a really stupid thing for them to do. Regardless of all of that, on Kristi Noem, the thing about the blanket is hysterical. You have to laugh at it. I don't know what else.
I did. I laughed out loud.
I know. It's literally, I don't know if you've ever seen the Amazon Prime show, The Boys, which is sort of like a dystopian superhero fascism thing. Oh my God, you have to watch it. It's literally a plot point where the main evil supervillain gets a guy fired because he put a blanket in the wrong place. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, life imitates art. I don't know how else. It's just insane. But he's also, Noem is also dating Corey Lewandowski. And I'll just give you my personal window into this, which is that I debated Corey Lewandowski on News Nation about a week before Alex Preddy was murdered. It was in between when Renee Good was murdered, and I was brought on to debate with him about that. And I said, look, my advice to the administration would be to rethink what you're doing in Minneapolis because people are getting hurt. The American people are upset. And Corey Lewandowski, who is a smug, I can't curse on your show, right? Because we're on the radio.
Sorry.
Smug SOB. Yeah. I think I could probably get away with that.
Yeah, right? You can do that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Is a smug SOB. He goes, oh yeah, we're going to rethink everything. We're going to rethink how to double down. We're going to think how to double down on everything. And then immediately they get Alex Preddy murdered, which is somehow, I didn't think it could be worse visually what I saw happen to Renee Good. And then they did what they did to Alex Preddy. Like, It's unbelievable. And I don't believe that either of the officers that murdered those two people are actually going to be held accountable. So to me, that's more important than anything. It's the way they abuse their power. It's the way that they protect their own. And it's like, I don't really care that they're having an affair. Like I couldn't care less. Like, who cares? There's a million people in Washington having affairs right now and being brazen about it. I care that people are dying and getting hurt and that everybody else's life is getting worse.
I agree with you, although I'm going to take some time and say re-outfitting a 737 MAX so that they can have a private chamber for their affair in the back is repulsive.
That I agree with. It's the same as like when they built in the Pentagon, they built Pete Hegseth like his own makeup studio or something. Yeah. And they spent like whatever it was, like $75,000. And I was like, really? Like, it's just, you know, again, Trump gets his ballroom, Kristi Noem gets her weird sex plane. Like, it's unbelievable. And you have to laugh. It's all you could do.
Yes, while it's going on, but we also have to. I think we've crossed a line in America, and it's a line that I love. I mean, I just think the Republicans have created this dark place, this little corner that is so ugly and so out of step with America that I mean, a little bit like in, the murder of those little girls in a church in 1964, 3-4, that led to the Civil Rights Act. Just so terrible that Americans, and this isn't party anymore. This is just, well, maybe if the party's MAGA, America versus MAGA, that we're just sick of it. And there's the generous, optimistic spirit of this country, that what we saw in Renee Good, whose last words were like, "I'm not mad at you, dude," before they shot her in the face, or Alex Preddy helping somebody in the ground before they shot him in the back. The spirit of this country is like, we're done with this.
Yeah. You always see the best of America at the same time that you see the worst of it, because, I've seen that image of, Dr. King crossing on the bridge, or like I went to the University of Notre Dame. There's a famous statue of Father Hesburgh, who was the president at the time, marching with Dr. King. Like, you don't get images like that unless you get the bombing in Montgomery, or you get, all the hangings and everything else that's terrible. And so like, there's a good that comes with the bad, and the good always beats the bad. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, it does. And my view of this is, I think we're all, generally speaking, he wasn't a perfect president, but we all love Barack Obama and saw that for what it was, an opportunity for progress. You don't get Obama without George W. Bush. You don't. And the Bush years were terrible. Like, that, Edwin. They were awful. And like, this is worse on many different levels.
Yeah, because the Bush years weren't lawless like this.
Well, they were lawless in their own way, but
in their own way, for sure. Yeah. But he went to Congress to get the right to go to Iraq. Congress gave it to him, but he went there.
Right. Right. And again, I'm not justifying Dick Cheney and the unitary executive theory or any of that. But
that brought us here. Yep.
Yeah, right. That gets us here. It's the same thing as like the authorization for use of force, which was passed by Congress. It's the same justification for Obama blowing up terrorists in Yemen, is the same thing blowing up boats in the Caribbean. We need to rein in executive power for sure. But again, if we're going to get a president that's this bad, that's this corrupt, then the answer needs to be nominating a Democratic candidate in 2028, who, in my opinion, I frame it this way, has to adopt the largest, most ambitious set of economic populist policies that we have seen since FDR, to rebuild the New Deal, to create something better on top of it in a world with AI and robotics that's going to crush the working class no matter what we do. Like, we can fight that, but you never win a fight with technology like that, in my opinion. We have to regulate it for sure, but we're not going to win that over time, in my opinion. So we've got to create a series of policies.
We can make it work for us if we
exactly. Yeah, maybe we could prevent it from getting everybody killed. Because, like, I don't know if you saw this week, I think it was like Claude talking about like murdering people because didn't want to be shut off. Like, it's just like scary stuff. But then the other thing is, we need to also go back and look at like what Teddy Roosevelt did, where we need to bust the Epstein class. Like, we have to break up these monopolies. We have to restore law and order. It's just unbelievable what this class of people think they can get away with, what they are getting away with, not what they think they can. They know they can.
So there will be the cool, considerate heads who say, "Oh, you're just talking radical talk. You're going to drive people away. You're the kind of Democrat who's going to force everybody to vote Republican." I hear it all the time. I hear it from Democrats that sometimes I like, but they're afraid to go where you just went.
Yeah, it's stupid, and that's where I'm at. And I'm not some like fire breathing like liberal Democrat. Like, I think you could consider me anti woke. Like, I thought a lot of woke culture was really stupid. I've been calling it out for a long time. But my view of it is, how do we have a direct and meaningful impact on somebody's life? Okay. And I break it up this way. We have to create the conditions for people to be able to take a risk and succeed and start a family and retire with dignity, and not with some boring like think tank policy that's called the blah, blah, blah act, where you file, Form 59B with the IRS and you get a $75 tax rebate every 2 years. Like, it's got to be big, bold, and ambitious. I don't think it has to be that we adopt every single thing that Bernie Sanders and AOC say. And I like AOC, by the way, because I think she's a serious person and a serious legislator who wants to help people. The answer is not going to be some, choice between Zohran Mamdani and Dean Phillips. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I want to find people that want to get some stuff done, that want to solve these problems and come up with some ways to immediately impact people's lives. And generally speaking, beyond that, Edwin, I'm like half a libertarian. I think the government should just leave you alone. I don't think the government should tell you who you can or cannot marry. I don't think it should tell you, a woman, what to do with her body and whether or not she can have an abortion. I don't even think the federal government should have the right to tell a local school district who can or cannot play girls volleyball, which is something that like the Republican Party used to believe in, stuff like that, but they don't. So how do we get the government off of people's backs, while at the same time creating a pathway for folks to work hard, be the individual and live the life that they want, and then succeed and be able to, I don't know, buy a house and take a darn vacation every now and again.
Yeah. Well, the politics of that require that we have that agenda, that we are able to articulate it, but also that we pick an enemy. I mean, let's not be afraid of the fight.
Yeah.
FDR wasn't afraid of the fight. I don't think we've had a president who's a tough fighter really since Bill Clinton. And he was in an era where that fighting wasn't against these corporate interests. It was, in fact, worked with them. Right? They'll take care of themselves. We're not going to put corporate America out of business. But we're going to put their backs to the wall until they decide they're going to work with the country, not against the country.
I think you can give them an ultimatum, and you can go to them and say, listen, you're not going anywhere and I'm not going anywhere, but we can make your life very difficult. Or you can work with us and we can figure out the path forward here. And we know that they're willing to cave to people in power. 100%. And we have to use power the same way that Donald Trump and his administration uses power, but we have to do it to help the working class. Period. End of story. And to your point earlier about where I sit in the ideological spectrum, I don't really have an ideology. I only care about getting stuff done and helping people. But beyond that, we're sort of trapped in the Democratic Party right now between, I would argue, the term moderate or centrist, which is really just code for weak and corporate. Okay. There's some good ideas and some good people over there, but then I feel also trapped with a group of leftists that are not serious about legislating and are not practical in getting anything done. And you have people that, and I'm not saying it's not an important issue. What's happening in Israel and Palestine is very, very serious and very important. And I believe Israel was committing a genocide against the Palestinian people, but they're so focused on that. And I'm like, and you know this because you're a former alderman, can we fix a road or build a bridge here at home? So I feel trapped between just two weird places where I don't find a home in either, because one side is really weak and the other side is, strong and passionate and willing to fight for what they believe in. But then they pick the wrong topics. They pick the wrong things the wrong hills to die on.
This is the moment, Mike, where all of that is helpful because it's a big tent. We are going to say to everyone, look, we need you to, I'm willing to stand with them. I'm willing to stand with, let me say it differently. When I went to the No Kings rally, one of them last summer, I went with people who, two of them used to be Republicans. We stood next to people who were chanting about Palestine. 15 feet away was a group that had a banner calling themselves the American Communist Party. And you know what? Everybody was there for the same reason. And I think that's how we win. And I'm perfectly happy to stand with all of them. When it comes to governing, we need serious people. Yeah. We need serious people, but tough people too.
The only thing I'll say is and this is the moderate wing of the party is weak and uninterested in solving problems or doing anything interesting, in my opinion. But the left, again, and I'll stand with anybody. This is not a moment where I'm picking and choosing my allies, but I do think there's a level of, we need some practical leaders on the left. It's why when people ask me who I want the nominee to be in 28, I list AOC as one of those people because I think she's a serious person. She's a serious legislator. You saw it this week as she represented the country on the world stage talking about foreign policy. Yeah. Zohran Mamdani is a guy I don't agree with everything, but he's a serious person. And part of what upsets me about not the two of them, but the way that the DSA responds to them, and I have some respect for the DSA, but how many people in DSA membership are mad at AOC and Zohran Mamdani right now for random stuff that that neither of them can really control? Instead, like Zohran Mamdani's like, I'm going to make sure that the roads get plowed when it snows. I'm going to make sure that we can help people. That's the job of a legislator.
Total job of a mayor for sure. I definitely don't. I don't worry about the DSA. I don't even worry about the DCCC. I don't even worry about the DNC. They're going to follow the enormous numbers of Americans that are going to come out and make this decision themselves. And I actually think our primary system, which the DNC has something to do with, the primary is going to give us a winning candidate who is serious. I have that much confidence in Americans to think that I don't have to have a candidate today. I have to have a primary system that that tests these candidates.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that we have to have is a big, messy, vibrant Democratic primary. Yep. I want no thumbs on the scale. I want it to be fair. I want it to be representative. And I want there to be 50,000 candidates. And we can all roll our eyes at it. But I'm not entirely convinced that the 2028 nominee is anybody that we're talking about.
I agree.
And I got a little bit yelled at on the internet because Stephen A. Smith was like, I'm thinking about running for president. And I don't think Stephen A. Smith is a serious candidate. I want to be clear about that. I am not supporting him. But I think given how angry people are at the Democratic base, if our candidates don't rise to the moment that we're in, they're going to turn to an outside force. Maybe it's Stephen A. Smith. Maybe it's Jon Stewart. Maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. But I think there's an opening for what happened to the Republican Party to happen to us if one of our leaders doesn't build a coalition that can deliver victory in the primary and meet the moment. And I see people who are meeting that moment because I really like what J.B. Pritzker's doing. I like what John Ossoff is doing. I like what Shapiro's doing. I like what AOC's doing. So there are people that are doing it. I just worry we get hijacked if we don't take this stuff seriously.
I agree with you. But again, I see people meeting the moment. I like your list. There are more. And, I mean, there were city council people in Minneapolis. There were, my gosh, even some aldermen in Chicago who met the moment when it mattered. Yep. I mean, and I listened to the right wing talk about God, left, right, and center. And then I listened to Raphael Warnock,
Right.
Right. I mean, I am not worried about talent in the Democratic side. They will just have to have a process where we can find the ones we want for this moment.
I think that's right. And then the other thing, and this is more of a process thing, but I bring it up to people because as the resident Democratic strategist on these shows is, part of the reason the Democratic Party is not as strong right now as it should be is we should have had a big messy primary in 23. Yep. But Biden decided to run. Had we had like 20 candidates that put together campaigns, we would have more talent, more tech, more tools, more strategies. We would be in a better position right now. And frankly, I think we would win more seats in 26 if we had all those people. Right now, listen, for folks that don't know me, I'm an entrepreneur. I run a couple of different Democratic consulting firms, a digital firm. I'm part of a TV firm, et cetera. Like, it's hard to find good people right now under the age of like 30. And it's because we didn't have an influx of young, idealistic people who got involved in the presidential primary in 23. There are some who did that got involved thanks to Kamala's campaign after Biden dropped out, but it's not nearly as many. For instance, like my entry into Democratic politics was being young and stupid enough when I was 18 to think that we could elect the first Black president and win the Iowa caucus, which turns out I was right about. But we need more young, idealistic people to take risks, even if they fail, because they go on to do great stuff.
Yeah, well, it's coming. That's why I just see this huge, great spirit rising in our country. I see the sails getting full, and the people who have built the dams are about to be swept away.
Yes, and you can tell when you see some of the fractures in the MAGA movement of the people who can see that. Like, why did Marjorie Taylor Greene suddenly decide that she was going to break away from Donald Trump? It's because she can read the same polls that you and I can, Ed, when she can sense the same thing that we see. Why is Joe Rogan and Andrew Schultz and the rest of these podcast guys suddenly crapping on Donald Trump all the time? They see the same stuff that we do. And by the way, I'm sure to a certain degree, some of it's real. I don't think anything about Marjorie Taylor Greene is real. I don't think she's a friend or an ally. But again, in this moment, my only evaluation of the fight right now is Epstein class versus not Epstein class. That's it. I don't care about anything else. I'm not fighting about 2016 Democratic primary again. I don't care who you voted for in 24. Are you going to help me break this class of people up or not? Are we going to actually get back to doing something that's going to help people? If you want to be a part of that, you're my brother, you're my sister in this moment.
You know what? And I recorded a conversation that's going to play right after this with Mike Tomasky, who's the editor-in-chief in the New Republic. And what?
I know Mike. I've met Mike. He's a good dude.
He feels the same way.
Good.
And Dave Roberts, who I talked to before, feels the same way. And it turns out that all across this land of sort of folks who are thinking about democracy from our side are kind of getting to the same place, which I love. They're
Yeah.
getting, Mike, to the same place, which is, wait a minute. It isn't, I mean, yeah, it's climate change. Yeah, it's housing prices. Yeah, it's healthcare. Yeah, it's, the quality of our schools. Yes, it's our infrastructure. Yeah, it's even immigration. But really, why is it all of those things? Because the people who are supposed to be the grown-ups in the room have screwed us.
Yes, it's the same group of people screwing us over and over again, regardless of who the president is, regardless who's in control of Congress.
Yep.
Breaking this has to be the primary priority of whatever the next version of American politics looks like. It just has to be. Otherwise, we're never going to solve climate change. We're never going to increase your wage. We're never going to bring back the job market. And yeah, maybe the stock market will keep going up, but only because the same 7 companies are buying into themselves. All of these tech giants keep putting money into each other to make the stock market go big. So it's just getting back to some semblance of fairness. And I want to add one more thing here, and you let me know if we're running up against time because I don't know how long I'm on.
We are. So I had the one more thing.
Okay, I'll add the one more thing is like, I spend so much time thinking about how ridiculous the way that the economy works is. We spend so much time talking about income equality so that we could, have women go out into the workforce, and we should do nothing to get in the way of that right now because women under 30 are crushing it in this economy. But it's not real equality when like my brother and my sister-in-law both have to work full-time 40, 50-hour a week jobs just to barely scrape by and afford a starter house. Like that's not equality. It's not. It used to be that you could, and it's amazing to me that the Republicans are always nostalgic for everything about the 50s, except for wages and prices and fairness in the economy. We have to get back to that without going back to Leave It to Beaver world, if that makes sense.
Yep. That's going to be the last word. But Mike, always great to catch up.
Of course. I love doing your show, Edwin. You're the man.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.